but we'll be getting started soon.
I do the party react. All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. If some extra people trickle in, we'll let them trickle in. Thank you for joining us for Info Night. My name is Cindy Gonzalez. I'm one of the second years here at the School Psych grad program.
I'm Carissa Pistana. I'm the co-president of the School Psychology Association. And then back there is my co-president, Danielle. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. And then our VP, Alex.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming out in the cold and the rain to come hang out with us tonight. We're just going to talk a little bit about the program, what it entails, some of the prerequisites, and just everything you need to know. Hello to all of the people joining from Zoom as well. If you have any questions, our lovely VP Alex will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any, just go ahead and drop them in there. For those of you in person, just feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. We should be able to answer it. All right. So moving on to, if it will work. Oh my goodness. Perfect. Okay, sorry about that. So the mission of the California State University Sacramento School Psychology program is to promote school psychology practices that lead to positive learning and life outcomes for children and adolescents. The program engages in research, the dissemination of knowledge, the promotion of culturally competent practice, and professional and community services that advance school psychology practices in Sacramento, California, the United States, and internationally. So, who are school psychologists? We joke around in our lecture that we do wear a lot of hats, and this is very true. But some of the big ones that we do wear are child advocates, mental health professionals, consultants, leaders in research, and psychoeducational assessment experts. Now, that's a lot of different roles, so we'll break them down one by one. But before we continue, we kind of wanted to talk about some of the main things that we do in this program. So, we make a positive difference in children and adolescent lives. We provide mental health support to students using interventions in the schools, whether that be individual counseling or group counseling. We also collaborate with educators, parents, community members, and mental health professionals to create a better community around our schools as well. Because although we are centered at the school level, there are a lot of things we can do in our role to make a bigger impact on the community around us. On top of that, we rely on research-based evidence to inform decisions and assess students' behavioral and learning needs to determine the best ways to help them. So if you are interested in doing any of those things, you're in the perfect room to do that. So going a little bit more into some of those roles that we have. As child advocates, we believe that all children can learn and be successful, even if they need additional supports to do so. And those decisions should be based on the best interest of the children rather than the adults around them. And those decisions should be based on proven best practices. On top of that, we are mental health professionals, which means that we administer social emotional assessments, implement group and individual counseling services, provide professional development and education to staff and other educators, serve as a mental health advocate for students, provide education for parents, as well as child advocates. So once again, kind of harping on the idea that we are there primarily for the child to support and provide interventions, but we're also there for parents too. There's a lot of stigma currently that's surrounding disabilities and certain things that kids experience in the schools. So not only should we spread our support to children, but we should also do it to the adults that are around them, like their caregivers, their parents, and their teachers, just so that we can make an overall more welcoming environment for our students. On top of that, we are psychoeducational assessment experts. Now that sounds like a lot of jargon, but what it is it's cognitive and psychoeducational assessments, which are essentially being able to measure our students' IQ, cognitive abilities, in order to determine deficits and identify supports for those students as well. We also interpret those assessments and data to inform decisions as an IEP team member. And we consult and collaborate with school staff, district personnel, community members, mental health professionals, parents, and students to just be able to make our school district a more welcoming place for all of our students. On top of that, we are also consultants. One of our lovely lecturers, Dr. Brock, who is not with us at the moment, always recommends that we should share our psychology and be able to educate those around us. So we just provide recommendations and interpretations regarding instructional, behavioral, and mental health interventions and accommodations, best practices for school and district policies, and special education eligibility criteria, codes, laws, and regulations. All right, and we are also leaders in research. So we as school psychologists, on top of all of our jobs that we have, we can also conduct research, write publications, and participate as members of professional communities. And that includes our lovely National Association of School Psychologists, NASP, as well as our more local branch of that, the California Association of School Psychologists, which is CASP, and our International School Psychology Association, the ISPA. All right, and this is a distinction that a lot of people kind of have. So what is the main difference between a school counselor and a school psychologist? Now, when you say that you are a grad student in school psychology or a school psychologist, a lot of people are going to say, oh, so you counsel. No, we do counseling, but there's a lot of other different things that we do. So just some comparisons. For our school counselors, they have at least 2 years of graduate school, where we as school psychologists have 3 years. School counselors are trained in education and counseling. We are also trained in that, and we do psychology as well. Our school counselor responsibilities include individual and group counseling, career planning, and course scheduling. Our responsibilities include assessment, consultation, behavioral and academic intervention, individual group counseling, and program evaluation. School counselors are employed in public schools and university advisement centers, whereas we are employed on public and private schools, private practice, mental health centers, and universities. All right, and where do school psychologists work? It is in the name. We primarily work as in schools. For California, you are legally required to have a school psychologist in public schools. So that's where a large majority of us work, about 85.13%. But some of us do work with our higher education students in colleges and universities. That's about 7%. There are spaces available for private school and private practice as well. There's a couple additional certifications you can earn in our program in order to get that private practice as well. There's faith-based schools, about 2.5%. Some of us work in hospitals, 1%, state departments of education, and other settings is 5%. So there are a lot of different settings that you can practice school psychology in. It's just a large majority of us are in public schools because there's such a high need in that area. All right, and who are today's school psychologists? A large majority are women, about 73%. The average age is 44 years old. For our Sac State students, I believe that this is what makes our program great. We have a very large diversity. 39% of us are first generation, and 44% of us are underrepresented minorities. That's really cool to be able to experience different opinions and perspectives from those who have maybe walked different paths than you guys. Really helps us understand how we can better help our students in school. All right, and the education level of school psychologists? 9% of us have a master's degree, and 73% of us have a specialist degree, which is the EDS, the education specialist. And most Sac State students get both the master's degree and the education specialist. It is built into our program throughout those 3 years. And 16% go the extra mile and have a doctorate degree. And just pausing, any questions so far? All right. Perfect. So what is the job outlook? So it is excellent both at present and long term. There is always high need for school psychologists. There's just a lot of schools that need them. There is a bit of a bottleneck going into this community, and a lot of people don't know about school psychology. So that job security is very, very solid, but it's also high need. So there's not enough graduates to help meet that demand. On top of that, one of the groups with the best job prospects will be those with an EDS or doctoral degree in psychology. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects 10.4% employment growth between 2020 and 2030 for school psychologists, and school psychology was named one of the top 100 best jobs in 2022 and number 5 in best social service jobs in 2022 as well. All right, so going on to a little bit of salary. For the 75th percentile is about 100,000. Our median is 80,000. Our 25th percentile is 60,000. And the NASP mean salaries of school psychologists for practitioner with contract is 71,000. Our university faculty is 77. Our administration is 93,000. And our State Department is 75,000. And it is helpful to note that during your 3rd year here in the program, you will be in a most likely paid internship. So that means even though you are still kind of getting to the EDS degree, you will be getting paid for what you're working towards, which is really cool. All right, and I will pass it on over to Carissa.
Sounds great. Okay, and now we're going to go into more of what Sac State School Psychology program looks like. So why choose Sac State? There are several reasons, some of them listed here. First of all, we are NASP approved, so the National Association of School Psychologists approves us. We actually just got reapproved recently, reaccredited for the next few years, which is great. We're an accredited training program. The California Commission on Teachers and Credentialing approves us. And then in 3 years, you will earn your master's degree, education specialist degree in school psychology, and pupil personnel services credential. So when I was looking into different graduate school programs that I was considering, a lot of the other places, they have 1 or 2, but here you can get all 3 of those. And then we also have an optional opportunity to get a licensed professional clinical counselor, LPCC, if you take additional coursework and supervised hours. So that will allow you to practice independent clinical counseling. We have a few students in the room who are currently working towards the LPCC. Would anybody like to jump in on that?
I might be the only one in the room who's been at LPCC. Not everybody in the program does it. It's completely optional because it does add in your 2nd year pretty much 2 full days like to your schedule. So it does definitely add to the workload. But me personally, I have 2 school sites, one for school psychology and one for counseling. I don't know, I really like it. I definitely recommend it only if you have like a passion specifically for counseling. Because obviously through the LEP, you'll be able to do educationally related counseling, and through school psychology, you can also do educationally related counseling already. So this is more if you just have a very an interest in like clinical counseling for later down the line or something. Yeah.
Was the specific reason that you chose to do it just because you had an interest in counseling, or was there like what motivated you to do the extra?
I definitely, that's a passion of mine. That was like another career I had considered before school psychology. Also just having the extra certification, like it doesn't hurt, but like I said, it does add a lot to your course load. You have to take each semester an extra class, and then obviously a full extra day of field work. So really like this program has to come first, and that's where you're just able to find the time to manage that extra like degree. Yeah.
If you're not sure yet how you feel about counseling, do you get an opportunity before that to see how you feel about it before pursuing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. In our first year, actually in our 2nd semester, you get an opportunity to do counseling in an elementary school. And it's not till the end of that first year you have to make the decision whether or not you want to do the LPCC in it. And also, if you start the LPCC, you're not like contracted in to like continue to do that. It's really just if you're able to make that work. Yeah. Any other questions about the LPCC?
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, and I decided not to because unlike Alex, I didn't have as much passion towards counseling. I kind of wanted to focus more on the program just as it was. And so whatever decision you make, if you choose to do the LPCC route or not, that is completely up to you. And like Alex was saying, You don't have to do it if you find out later that it's not quite for you. And then also optional is the licensed educational psychologist, LEP. So that is with additional supervised hours, allows you to provide psychoeducational services in an independent private practice. Okay, and then these are some of our excellent professors that we have in the program, some of which are in the back. So first we have Dr. Melissa Holland. She's the professor and program coordinator. Her expertise is counseling, clinical psychology, mindfulness, and cognitive therapy. Dr. Holland, did you want to say anything?
Thank you.
I'm glad everybody came tonight, and for those of you joining online, it's fantastic too, and glad for your interest in our program. Look forward to doing some Q&A at the end.
Yes. And then next we have Dr. Megan O'Malley. She's professor. Her expertise is in data, psychoeducational assessments, and school mental health. Did you want to say anything, Dr. O'Malley?
Yeah, thanks for braving the rain. For those of you who are in person, and for those of you who are joining online, thanks for joining with your tea or hot coffee from home. Yeah, I love this field. I love training graduate students, and so happy to answer any additional questions afterward.
Thank you, Dr. O'Malley. And then next we have Dr. Tiara Bland, the assistant professor and clinic coordinator. Her expertise is she is a co-founder of the Black School Psychologist Network Incorporated, recruitment and retention of Black school psychologists, and youth mental health. She's right there. Would you like to say anything, Dr. Bland?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you for those that are tuning in online, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end.
Awesome. And then our next professor, unfortunately, she's not here right now, but we have Dr. Sruthi Swami. She's an assistant professor, and she's the field and internship coordinator, and her expertise is in Asian and Asian Pacific Islander co-chair for NASP, and ethnic and racial disparities in schools. And then Dr. Stephen Brock, he is a professor emeritus. I don't know how to say that word, it's okay. But his expertise is in crisis and suicide prevention, ADHD, and he was the former NASP president. Okay, and then moving on to what each year is going to look like. The first years, you want to say a little wave right there? So first years will take courses in group and individual counseling. They will get some practice with psychoeducational assessment, ethics and law, and child development. So they will begin individual counseling. That will be the second semester of the first year. You will get placed in a school and get to work with actual students and counsel them on some difficulties that they're having. And psychoeducational assessment, more specifically cognitive testing. There is this big cognitive assessment called the Woodcock-Johnson, which you will become very familiar with over time. But it's a great jump into what assessment is all about. It's not the only thing that we do as school psychologists, but it does take a bit of time to get practice in it. And you'll have direct supervision, instruction, and guidance from highly qualified practicing school psychologists and clinical psychologists. And there are some additional members of the community, school psychologists, who oversee the clinic. I got to work with Dr. Rona Leitner. She was really great to work with, and she had a lot of insight. So you'll meet some other assistant professors as well. And then second year, this is what Sydney and I are currently doing. You will take courses in psychoeducational assessment, behavioral assessment and interventions, academic interventions, and much more. So once you get familiar with cognitive assessments, you start to dip your toes into more. We're doing some called achievement tests, which look at the reading, writing, and math skills of students. And then rating skills, which look at the social and emotional and behavioral aspects of children. So for example, you might screen them for like anxiety or depression, just seeing where they are. You'll work in the field with supervision by practicing school psychologists and participate in IEP and SST meetings. If you don't know what an IEP meeting is, that is an individualized education program. That is for students who qualify for special education services. And those meetings help determine if those students qualify for services or not. And then SST meetings, those are student success team meetings. And so those cover students who they're not quite at special education levels of need, but just supporting them in maybe their math skills, like they're struggling in math. We want to see what interventions we can give them that will help them succeed in classes. You will also observe in classrooms and run individual and group counseling sessions. At my site right now, I'm getting to do a lot of SEL push-in. So that's social emotional learning push-ins, where I get to see a bunch of cute little kids. I get to read them a book about their emotions, and I get to see them all gain further understanding about how they're feeling. So it's a great opportunity to get practical experience with students, and then also with other educators and with parents. And then you will conduct psychoeducational assessments, diagnostics, and the CSUS Center for Counseling and Diagnostic Services, that is the CCDS, with direct supervision, instruction, and guidance. So building off of the experience that you gained in your first year, you will again get direct supervision. If you've never been to our clinic, it's upstairs on the 4th floor. If you ever want to climb 3 flights of stairs, that's up to you. And then you will finish your 4th full-time semester with a master's in education school psychology. Okay, and then 3rd years. I don't have a lot of direct experience with this yet, but what I've heard is you will work as an intern, usually paid. Please take a paid internship in a local school district with guidance and supervision from practicing school psychologists and your professors. You'll work on your ES thesis or project. You will complete units in coursework to further prepare you for your future career. And you will graduate with an education specialist degree in school psychology, EDS, and your pupil personnel services credential, PPS. And then just to go into the power of the cohort. Once you're in the program, your cohort is your best, they are your best friends. There are people who are going to support you. There are people who you can consult with even after you're done with the program. And I know we all really help each other out. Like, for example, Sydney might find like a counseling resource and we have a Discord that she'll like send it to, and then some of us can use that counseling resource. And we just really build each other up, really help each other out. And so if you're not really sure, like, oh, what do I do for this assignment? Or, oh, I'm really not feeling great about this right now. You can always reach out to your cohort members and they will be there to support you. Like, they've gotten me through a lot of difficult assignments or even just difficult times in my life. So yeah, the cohort is a powerful thing.
And I think that that's something that is really special about our program as well, is I feel like we're all able to learn not only from our professors, but from each other as well. We all have so many different experiences in the field and in the clinic that are able just to give us so many unique perspectives and so many different ways to be flexible and handle situations that we might not have been in ourselves. And also, this is a really sometimes emotionally taxing career. We want to be able to rely on those who also not only understand what we're going through, but can also provide us resources for maybe when they were also going through a tough time as well. So that's what I love about our program.
Okay, next. So you're actually considering applying to the program. What do you need to do? These are our admissions requirements. First, you need a baccalaureate degree from an accredited institution. I did apply while I was finishing up my degree. So even though you haven't quite graduated with it yet, you are still able to apply. And then a minimum of a 3.0 grade point average and previous transcripts. The graduate record exam, those scores are recommended, however, they are not required. But it is good to keep in mind that a strong GRE score will counterbalance a low GPA. You need experience working with diverse learners in a K-12 school setting, at least 30 hours, which includes work with special needs students. And then you need letters of recommendation from 2 sources, ideally at least 1 former professor.
And Carissa, does our baccalaureate degree have to be in psychology?
No, you can apply to the school psychology program with whatever bachelor's degree that you get. The main thing though is that you get some of the prerequisites. I think this is, yeah. Okay, so these are the prerequisite requirements that we have. First, you need a basic understanding of abnormal psychology. So those may be some of our mood disorders, depression, those kinds of things. Knowledge of special education and the education of exceptional learners. Knowledge of descriptive statistics. An introduction to the counseling profession. Experience with exceptional learners in a special education setting. Instruction regarding issues of diversity. And instruction and or experience teaching school-aged youth. And all of these classes, these are examples of what could qualify. So these are the specific courses at Sac State that do align with these areas. However, there are 2 different routes that you can go down. So first of all, you can take a course that fulfills the requirement. For example, Education 100B, I took that course. Or if you have an experience that gives you the same kinds of experience, you can use that to potentially fulfill the requirement. So for example, if an individual was paraeducator at a school, similar coursework or experience covering topics from the courses listed may be used with department approval, but you need to provide evidence that the coursework or experience meets the requirements of the courses listed and discuss with your advisor or program coordinator once you have been admitted to the program. And then for the application and interview tips, you need to demonstrate high performance in demanding programs or employment. For example, GPA, having a high GPA, strong references from your professors and employers. You need to progress towards the prerequisites, so you need to enroll for upcoming semesters. You need to display knowledge of school psychologists. We don't want you showing up and talking like, oh yeah, I want to do like behavior therapy all day, every day, and you don't know anything about education. We want to see that you know about school psychology. Prepare questions to ask your interviewers. Interview will conclude with a spontaneous writing sample, so be ready to type that up and show your excitement. So I'll tell you one story that I had while I was applying to the program. I showed up and I like to take the extra step sometimes. I showed up in a green shirt with gold buttons to represent Sac State. And I thought nobody was going to think anything of it. But Dr. Holland, before I left, she made the note. She was like, I noticed your green shirt with the gold buttons. Sac State, right? So I feel like that's a pretty good example of showing your excitement for the program. And then applications are due January 13th, 2026. Okay, and then our acceptance and graduation rates. This is a very vigorous program. Thus, our acceptance rate is 25%. That may seem a little bit daunting, but I just encourage you just apply. You know, if you are passionate about this field, just apply no matter where you are. You can always reapply if you don't get in the first time. And then for 3-year graduation rates, it is 90%. And then employment rate after graduation, we can proudly say 100%. Sac State students are very well prepared for this career. And so you will have a whole lot of options for where you will be employed, depending on how things look in the future. But right now it's looking good. Okay, and then Sac State's tuition, it has been announced that Sac State's tuition is going up over the next few years. This is a breakdown of this next line of students, what their tuition will look like. So it's about $4,000 per semester, up to $4,800 per semester. Most students will be full-time, which is this top row, and then part-time, if anybody's considering that, it's this bottom row. And the cost of tuition does not include mandatory campus fees. However, I do want to say Sac State is very affordable to go to. And then there are a lot of opportunities for scholarships. For example, Sac State, they just released their annual list of scholarships. So you can apply for those throughout your semester. I've done that before. I have received a scholarship before. So again, just apply for those too. It's like any opportunity you get to apply for a scholarship, just do it, you know. Don't let it hold you back from pursuing this career.
Yeah, very much so. And on top of that, if it is still around next year, please apply for financial aid because during the tuition, there is a grant that sometimes comes in where you are able to, they pay the tuition, you will still have to pay your student required fees, but that just kind of alleviates a lot of pressure that you don't have to pay your tuition. There's also a couple grants that are available, like the Golden State Teachers Grant, that are really affordable and are very easy to pay back. The Golden State Teacher Grant is basically if you spend 2 years in a Title I school, you do not have to pay the grant back, which is a really, really cool thing because there's a lot of Title I schools in this area that do need our support. So it's kind of a win-win. Yes.
And then for any general admission questions, please contact the graduate student assistant at this email right here. And please feel free to contact us with any additional questions you have about the application process, the program, or the field from a student's perspective.
Right.
And then stay connected. We do have an Instagram where you can see a lot of our updates. Hopefully some of you guys saw us announcing tonight through the Instagram. And then also there are connections to the National Association of School Psychologists and the California Association of School Psychologists.
All right. And now we open the floor for a Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? Comments, concerns? Yes.
In the first year, where is the setting for the experience for assessment and counseling?
That'll be upstairs at the CCDS still.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be paired, you're broken up into smaller groups. I believe it's about 6 cohort members to 1 supervisor. And then you start off very slow. You start off learning the cognitive assessment. You have a couple weeks to do that. And then you start off with that, and then you get paired with the second year to do a full psychoeducational assessment after your first one. Yep. And then they're there to support you. They're able to watch you live time and be able to step in if anything goes wrong. So it's a great place to kind of have the training wheels on.
Yeah. And it's really nice because it's also recorded. So you can go into, it's called sim capture. You can go into it afterwards and watch how you were doing. And from there, you can kind of make adjustments to how you're giving the assessment if you need to make any.
Dr. Holland.
Because I heard you ask about counseling too.
Yeah.
So it honestly depends. I know our medical professors choose schools in the nearby area that we can go to, and I know it might change, but we've been in like West Sac before, so it just depends on us.
And you get an opportunity to list your preferences, and that's what they set up.
Yeah, we have, with our cohort now, we have 4 school sites that our students will be placed in next semester. Will be counseling practicum. They'll stay at that school site for the duration for semester. And combined with that practicum, you'll be learning counseling theory. So we do ascribe to the theory of building the plane as you're flying it. Learn the counseling technique, and then later that week and apply it to the child they work with.
Yes.
That 30-hour requirement working with students, does it have to be all at one institute? Like, because like I don't have this class experience because I didn't go to Sac State, but I have experience elsewhere. 30 hours altogether might be piecemeal, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, you don't need it all at the same site for sure. Like even just through the Sac State's through their through their classes and through their coursework, I wasn't even in the same school all the time. So yeah, as long as it's 30 hours altogether or more.
Yeah, I have a question. So what age range will we be working with children? Is it more like with high school students or more with elementary school
For counseling?
or like just in general?
Yeah. So for all of first year for your practicum, you will be working in elementary schools. Mainly elementary schools. Sometimes there are K through 8 opportunities where you do get to counsel some students who are in 6th through 8th grade. When you start your fieldwork experience in second year, there are some opportunities for you to go to high school, but all of the hours that are required are within K through 8 schools.
Yeah.
And then the clinic too, they accept the flyer, like
I think it's
7
7 to 17. Yeah.
to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, age 5 is the lowest.
Yeah. And then generally for school psychologists, we work with a wide range of students aging from about 3 years old to about 22 years old. So if you're interested in working with high schoolers, for example, or even with TK students, there's going to be an opportunity for you to work with those students in the career.
Yes.
So I'm getting ready to submit my application in the next few weeks. I had a question about the letters of recommendation. Are they able to submit after I've submitted my actual application, or they have to submit before I do my?
You have to submit before.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, good enough.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about the clinic. I know absolutely nothing about it, actually.
Yeah, of course. So what the clinic does is there's 2 different services there. There is the counseling graduate students who do counseling of I think all ages, right, Dr. Bland, for counseling? But for us specifically, we focus more on the psychoeducational assessment of it. So students either get referred through their school by their parents to come to us. And what we'll do is we'll provide a couple cognitive assessments as well as maybe some social emotional ones. So cognitive would be essentially an IQ test. So if a student comes with a referral concern of dyslexia, maybe we'll run a couple diagnostic tests, and our supervisor will be watching us, will provide us feedback as well.
So real life students being referred.
Yes. Yeah. No, yeah, so the real life students being referred. Where are you getting them from? No, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. O'Malley?
I know we have a 2-year wait list
Mhm.
for services, but, the community increasingly always having a good reputation. Yes, but, we are seeing more and more young people from the area whose parents want to get a private evaluation, either to have a second opinion, from what they're getting from their school setting, or they might be at a private school where they don't have access to a school psych, and so they come to us for that school psych evaluation. So yeah, this is pretty high demand, and with a good reputation.
And I'll add more to it. So yeah, so our school psych program, we're in our clinic on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, Tuesday afternoon, and Thursday afternoon. So like I said, real clients. And one of the beauties of it is that we have, when you're talking about private schools and students from, also we get referrals from pediatricians from anywhere in the community. So we have families that come far north of Chico. We have people that come far south from Fresno, from the Bay Area. So we're really sought out in this community for getting those evaluations, and they are much cheaper than a private practice. And even with the counseling program, the services that they provide are free, low cost for both students and families as well.
Yeah, and then the gist of what a psychoeducational evaluation with the clinic might look like Sydney was saying, for dyslexia, students come in with a number of concerns, educationally related concerns that they have, and we don't make a diagnosis of, for example, dyslexia, but we take all of the data that we have, so listening to interviews from parents, from teachers, and then all of the data that we get from testing with that student, and we come to a determination if they exhibit a profile similar to a student with dyslexia, for example. And then your first year, you will be working with a student who is getting assessed for gifted and talented education programs. So that's GATE programs. And so you get to see if they exhibit a profile similar to a student who would qualify for GATE or not. And like the professors back there were saying, our evaluations are very highly regarded in the Sacramento area. And so it's not a final determination, but it is something that is very helpful for these students. So you get to start making a beneficial impact on students' lives even from your second semester. So I think that's something that's very special about our program.
Just one other quick plug for our program. Actually, having a clinic like this is quite neat. There are very few other graduate programs, psychology, that has their own fully operational clinic that sees children. In addition, the emphasis on counseling is also what makes our program neat. I was at California Association of School Psychologists last week, and meeting with some of the other coordinators there in other schools, and many of them don't offer a course in group counseling. We do. Some don't have an emphasis on being kids for counseling. They may have some theories classes, but to have a full designated practicum also in schools to do counseling with children at the same time, again, sets our program apart. We really strive to achieve that scientific practitioner model, wherein you learn it and you apply it. And that's how we operate our whole program here.
Yeah. And then another really cool thing. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Holland.
Dr. Holland will do her own form, but Dr. Holland is a known expert related to mental health interventions for young people, and she is a licensed psychologist in addition to being a faculty member in school psychology. So her additional expertise related to more clinical related concepts. You know, we're training school psychologists, but she provides some really helpful insight that adds to the rounding out of our counseling strand in our program.
Yeah. And then one thing that I really like about our classes and some of the lectures that we attend is some of the assignments that are due will continue to help us in our careers. So there's a lot of things that we complete like during first year and second year, like our developmental health questionnaire, our group curriculum, all of those awesome assignments you'll learn more about later, but those we can use in real world applications. So it's so cool because everything we're doing, every step of the way is preparing us to be really well-rounded, competent school psychologists. Alex?
I have a question in the chat for Dr. Holland. In terms of the letters of recommendation, I know that we recommend to have one professor, maybe if they have that. What for the other one, what would be your recommendation? Whether maybe like an employer in a school or a school psychologist that they know, they'd like your expertise.
That's the ideal. Other letters of recommendation that we've seen are from more general employers, maybe at a volunteer, setting, and a supervisor there, perhaps who did work, with one professor, more coursework oriented, and then you worked in a research lab for the other, that will always suffice as well. But we'd like to try to have two different settings if possible. What we're not looking for are neighbors or uncles or something along those lines. So we really want them to be professional and or academic. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Any other questions?
I can share some of the questions from chat.
Sure. Yeah.
So somebody asked how many hours of the internship are required to complete the EDS degree. In our third year, we should be completing 1,200 hours, which I said are typically achievable because you're working your internship like a full-time job. And then in our second year, we do complete 214 hours of field work. And then somebody else asked, our internship locations are in the Sacramento area as well. Yes, in our second year, we applied to them. A lot of districts in our area offer paid internships. Typically, they can be up to 60 miles from the Sac State campus, just because they should be able to reach us if needed. So.
There's always exceptions. Mm-hmm. Stuff. Well, we will hang around for a little bit longer if anyone has any other questions that they want to ask. But thank you all for coming very, very much. We appreciate any and all interest in our program. And we hope to see you guys in our applications come January. Thank you so much.